Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are having one hell of a good night tonight. Christian McLeod is ill, so he is on the DL, which means we got our good friend Josh Rutledge, the UFO Wizard, coming on in. We're going to get into a lot of your questions about UFOs tonight. So if you're in our YouTube chat, make sure you ask lots of questions. We're going to be getting to them early and often tonight. This is about you guys. All about disclosure. Nothing weird, nothing woo. About disclosure tonight, okay? So get prepared. But first, we need to say hello to each and every one of you. T-Bone, my man, in the gold medal position. Kitty Caddywhack with a silver, Race Fan with a bronze medal tonight. Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because Josh says he will not come on the show unless the Wizard is lubed up. So Mel is in the Wizard studio right now, lubing him up as we speak. Mel, don't forget to give yourself a little shot as well. Scrolling on down, we say hello to Robert Lamoth and Thunderhead. Thank you for coming on in. Who else do we have here? We have Necessary Dialogue. And we have Frankie B. Gear Jammers, how you doing, man? Nice to see you. Mickey G, thanks for coming on in. Luscious Jules, it is always a pleasure when you are here. And yeah, Mel WD-40 got his name back. Right on, Mel. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Tyler, how are you tonight? Tyler will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. He only signs in blue Sharpie. That's it. Carol Amario, thank you for joining us. Paramarv, how are you doing? As we continue on with our roll call here. Up next, we say hello to JSCO. Search and Destroy, how you doing? Integrationing, what's going on, my man? Thanks for coming on in. Number 55 in your program tonight, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson, there he is. Yeah. I literally just had a brain freeze there. That was kind of weird. All right, Chris Irvin, how you doing? Welcome. Algaray over on Twitch. So excited the Wizard is back tonight. He did literally, you're not going to believe this, 102 magic wand pull-ups in 38 seconds. 102 magic wand pull-ups, 38 seconds. And he hasn't even broken a sweat yet. Phyllis Boucher Perry, how are you tonight? I love it when you're here. Jay Truth is here. Jay Truth will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Dunzel, how are you, man? See, Kenzo, how you doing, Kenzo? Long time, no time. Nice to have you here. And Terry Mills, nice to see you. Walter Kochabinski, always a pleasure to have you here. As we scroll on down, and Pam Harris is next. How you doing, Pam? Nice to have you here. Dr. Bob, always a pleasure. And Stein Alexander, how you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat. Super knower. There we go. LJ, honest content. Good to have you both here. And let's see here. Who else do we have? The Wizard is in the chat room. Shh. Wizard's in the chat room. Don't tell anybody. Let's get the side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We got the UFO Wizard, Josh Rutledge, coming on in to talk some UFOs. We're going to have a great time with him here momentarily. We are at roll call on our YouTube side. If you're listening in on the podcast side, do us a favor, hit subscribe, take a share on that, and leave a good comment because we kind of like it when you guys do that. It helps us out. If you're in our YouTube side, please give us a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithms. Moodens Mongol, how you doing? K17, nice to see you. Hillbilly Herb, good to have you here. Les Paul Holland, strumming away. Nice to have you here, buddy. The Ferret, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And who else do we got? Well, throw those horns up, everybody. Just like that. You can do it. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears to what's the really happening in the house. We're together, friends. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X and Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon and the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. 2 weeks from now, we are launching Caribou Con for the first time in the Caribou region of British Columbia. We want to see you all here for Caribou Con, British Columbia's only paranormal conference. Go to cariboucon.com. Get your tickets right now. We're talking UFOs tonight. Josh Rutledge, we call him the UFO Wizard around these parts, is going to be our guest here in moments from now. Then, in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off. We'll follow that up. Robin Haynes. Yes, the cryptid goddess. Robin Haynes will be here for the Q&A, so it's going to be a jam-packed show tonight. If you've never heard the Wizard on this show, you are missing out. Josh Rutledge, in my opinion, and, you know, I think I have a pretty good, strong judge of character. Well, let's just say I think he is one of the smartest minds in ufology. I really do. Better known as the UFO Wizard around these parts. You could blame me for nicknaming him. Okay, Josh is a researcher, investigator, content creator, podcast host, and so much more, with a very strong interest in UFOs, government secrecy, and high-strangeness phenomena. His work focuses on examining unexplained aerial encounters, emerging evidence, whistleblower testimony, and the ongoing debate surrounding transparency and disclosure. Josh is also associated with the Convergence Enigma, where he explores his historical UFO cases. He is also a very major prominent member of MUFON in Arizona. We love it when he is here each and every time. He's like family around here. Josh Rutledge, how you doing, my friend? Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio.
Dave, I am doing fantastic. So glad to be back. You know, we've broke the heat wave here in Arizona, so maybe we could break the UFO wave, here tonight on the show.
Well, let's hope. Let us hope, my friend. You know what? I got to tell you, a couple days I saw Disclosure Day for the first time.
Yeah.
And let me tell you the delay on that. I'd planned on watching it when it came out on Amazon Prime, because literally, it just hit our one screen theater here. Okay. And I may still try and sneak out to the theater to watch it. But I got a pretty busy week coming up with our ghost tour this weekend on Labor Day. And then I got to go out to the forest, out to my Flight 21 spot. And I still haven't even done my speech yet for CaribouCon, and I think that might be important for me to do. But
Probably.
yeah, that being said, Josh, I promised my son I would watch it with him. He saw the preview and he's like, Dad, I want to see that. Like, okay, I will wait. So I waited. And dude, I can tell you this. I went into it big time in last night's show. The last 15 minutes of that movie were the most impressive. They were the most impressive. I mean, I got all giddy when they showed the AI video footage of Nixon and Jackie Gleason.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was amazing. I'm sure Paul Reed Smith out there somewhere. And by the way, Dirty Filth, we got to get Paul Reed Smith back on the show to talk about the Nixon Jackie Gleason incident. We do. But I can say this, that last 15 minutes blew my mind. It blew my mind. And Josh, I will tell you this, the biggest thing that affected me was when they wheeled out the alien at the end. It was like Spielberg took a picture of Carl, my alien gray at the window, literally from my head. Exactly what he looked like, with the bony face, the big almond-shaped eyes, everything was the same. And I flipped out, dude. I flipped out. Like, I was shaking. I jumped off my couch and I was shaking.
Do you have you watched it a second time?
No, I will be.
Yep.
I will be, because I think there will be more on there that I get the second time.
Yep.
But
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
A lot of similarities, man. A lot of similarities.
I mean, there were multiple. I mean, we I remember I came on shortly after the film was released and talked about it. But I mean, my experiences with the film were very profound when I first saw it. I mean, I felt seen, like, we've talked about it before too, that there's like two sides of the people, I think, that see the film and react to the film. There are people who went to see it as strictly as a Spielberg movie and weighed it against every other Spielberg movie that he's ever produced, and looked at it solely through the lens of, is this a good film? And then there are people who, like myself and yourself and our friend Shane Hurd, who went and saw it through the lens of an experiencer, a contactee, an abductee in some cases. And they weren't so much worried about how this measured up against other Spielberg films. They left the movie feeling like they were vindicated and like they had been seen. And so when you read somebody's review of the movie and they're like, this is not Spielberg's greatest film, it depends on who the audience is.
I agree with you. And look, I thought that if we want to break down a movie and you be Siskel and I'll be Ebert. Okay. I thought the chase scenes and everything were really weak, especially at the beginning where he's out. The main character is out in the forest trying to find a phone signal, and he comes back and there's all those cops around it. And instead of running away, he's running to them to try and steal a car. But instead of driving backwards down the driveway in reverse, he drives forward into them. Like, that type of stuff did not make sense to me. I thought, that was kind of lame. But being a journalist, working in a newsroom, I really connected with Emily Blunt on that.
Mm.
And everything that she was going through that she didn't know, like the immediate downloads. Like it's the little things like that that really, really caught my attention. How the day before she didn't know how to speak different languages. Now I'm not saying that happens with a lot of ET downloads on this end.
Yeah.
Okay. But the psychic phenomena that she all of a sudden picked up where she's able to read minds and everything like that. I believe in that.
Well, and I'll say that, I hear what you're saying about something like the phone in the field and all of that, but you have to realize that the first time we're introduced to his character, we see someone who feels uh, almost a responsibility to the woman that's with him, having somehow erroneously gotten her involved in this situation that he didn't intend to get her involved in. So the decision to steal a cop car and drive towards the house in an attempt to rescue her, I think, comes from this kind of sense of responsibility where he could have, you're right, he could have just reversed down the lane and they would have pursued him, but he would have left her hung out to dry. And I think that's speaks a lot to his character, not just his character as a character, but his character as a person portrayed in the film. He has a almost a psychological attachment to ensuring her safety, and that's repeated throughout the film to show that he's not just this cold, calculated whistleblower, but he has a compassionate a feeling and a caring side to realize that he's involved this person in his affairs, and now he is responsible for her safety.
I can get that. Moving on. And I think you brought up a very good point there, but that, even when she did try and kill him, but the telepathy to take over the body from, I think Nicole Sackich put it great to me when I was talking to her about it, where it almost shows that like something equivalent to the God helmet works.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the God helmet, by the way, I still like, it's still on my bucket list to get one, but yeah, the God helmet is like putting you in this really deep trance state, right? Whereas that, if you're talking about the device that, kind of the main bad guy uses, and I'm trying not to give anything away for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but the device that the main bad guy uses to influence her, it's more like almost like a what's the word that's used a lot in spiritual terms, when a possession. It's more like a possession, where he takes control of her. He displaces her consciousness with his own, which is very much like like a possession, like a true style Catholic, possession in that sense. But it does also, I think, open up the possibility, or at least maybe hints at the possibility, that if you're not careful with how you put yourself out there to make contact with things, that you can fall victim to something like that. And I've had a scary experience like that myself, where I was working on doing a channeling one night with my good friend Stefan, and something came through and didn't want to leave, and he had to push it out of me using Reiki. So it's a very scary and real situation.
Very true. Very true. But the alien at the end, man.
Yeah.
The alien at the end really hit me hard.
I
between the eyes.
I talked to a lot of people who also saw the film, who are like, us experiencers and such. And one of the feedback that I got, or their opinion, was that they wanted to see something other than a gray like entity. They wanted to see like a Nordic or something like that. But I told them the same that I'm getting ready to say here. I think for it to hit with the general public, it had to be something that's kind of commonplace across the kind of social psyche, if you will.
Agreed.
And having a tall gray as opposed to a short gray is something that resonated with both groups of individuals.
I would agree. I would agree. But like I said, though, I don't know how he pulled Carl out of my head with what he saw or with what he made. I really don't.
I was
Drives me
wondering, my impression when I saw that alien at the end, my impression was that of like a grandparent. Did you have a similar
No,
feeling? No.
no, because when I ran into Carl, not ran into him, when he was at my window back in 2015, he literally was standing 3, 4 feet away from me.
Hmm.
Okay. And when I saw the size of his head and where it was in my window, he would have had to have been 5.5 to 6 feet tall.
Hmm.
Right. So that just absolutely blew my mind right there. It blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, and it's we've talked about it, I think, on here before. I've definitely talked about it with other people. I think people commonly just associate any gray like alien as being a gray. And when you think about the grays, they're typically perceived as being kind of, I don't know, negative, but like they don't have a care about what they do. They don't understand the impacts of what they're doing, etc. I think that this also helps to paint uh, gray like entities a different way so that you don't go into it assuming that, all grays are the same.
No, very true. Very true. As we have Josh Rutledge, the UFO Wizard, on the show tonight. Josh, I want to go over another topic with you because I could talk Disclosure Day all night long, just like you could, but I don't want to bore our audience. No
Yeah.
offense. Okay. Lately in the news, the UFO news, there has been talk about 2027 again. Chris Bledsoe has mentioned it. Lou Elizondo is mentioning it. Others are mentioning 2027. For people who may not understand what 2027 is, explain.
I mean, you know, I've heard it as 2026 was the year of disclosure, and 2027 is the year of contact, open contact. But I don't know if, like, again, kind of like we've talked about in the past, for what does disclosure mean for different people? It open contact can be rather vague for what that how that will manifest for other people as well. Like, are we talking about a craft landing on the field of the Super Bowl, or is it more along the same lines as what other people have experienced with doing like conscious contact CE5 type events, where they're getting individualized contact, but it's just in a much broader scale in 2027. I've always kind of felt that that true disclosure comes from a grassroots movement of individuals coming to the realization to their own personal disclosure, and then the number of those peoples grows and grows and grows and grows and grows to the point that so much of the population reaches that conclusion that their own personal disclosure. So maybe in 2027, that's what it is. It's a an explosion, if you will, of more people having that personal contact experience and their own personal disclosure, which will kind of tip the scales, if you will, and we will no longer be dependent upon the governments of the world to disclose this detail, because we will all, or a great majority of us, will already know what is true and what is real. And we won't be kind of beholden to the government and their continued slow trickle of information.
I am wonder if, I know Jeremy Corbell is a very controversial figure in the UFO world. I think you would agree with that. That's pretty
Yeah.
easy to state. But he comes out and says, don't buy into the 2027. What he's hearing from his sources is that it's going to be some sort of false flag event. You buy that?
I think it's important to look at so I think Jeremy approaches everything. And I say this, and I hope I don't offend Jeremy. And if I have it wrong, I would hope that he would be open to conversation. But from what I gather in watching Jeremy's, YouTube shows and the various things that he's put together, he is very much the government has the answers. Working with people within the government or ex-government is the only way to get those answers to the people. Whereas the 2027 crowd maybe is thinking, well, we're tired of waiting for the government. And so we're going to take things into our own hands. And, the we in this sentence might be, the extraterrestrials that are flying some of these craft around or whatever, saying, hey, we're going to take things into our own hand and we're going to make individual personal contact with more people so that they have that personal disclosure experience. I could see where somebody like Jeremy that says, hey, the truth will come from the government. Don't listen to these, snake oil salesmen that are trying to tell you that there's a personal experience. I hate to take it to a religious aspect, but it's similar to, the early churches that were like, you can't have your own relationship with God, especially in Catholic churches. You have to come through us, and we'll facilitate that relationship to God. So it's I think a very similar situation where, again, my interpretation of Jeremy and the way he approaches everything is like, the government has the answers. Let's just continue to do the work until the government releases the answers that we all have been waiting for. And part of me, wonders even a little bit if there's a little bit of a protecting his, his work product. If ET takes it upon themselves to make open contact in 2027, all the work that he has been doing with trying to get whistleblowers to testify and do all these things, all that kind of like becomes a moot point. I mean, sure, it would be great to know what the government knows, but at the point of ETs make open contact, does it matter what the government knows at that point? If we've got the answers that we're ultimately seeking?
Well, and that's a good point. What is the point of it all? Okay. I mean, do you think that maybe this has become a game on who can get disclosure first? Because there is a lot more competition now. And it's not just Jeremy Corbell who might be the leader of it all, but I mean, this is kind of a pyramid type game, Josh, as we got about 20 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like disclosure has become its own branch of, the military industrial complex, and all these companies that are now coming out of the woodwork to make, machines and tools and things that can detect UFOs and all these things. They're all working towards those next government contracts that they can grab up as part of the military industrial complex.
Josh Rutledge, the UFO Wizard. We're going to continue with this great conversation when we return on Spaced Out Radio for the second half hour. The UFO Wizard. We love it when he's on the air, and he's always so profound when he speaks. We'll be right back. Jorge, how you doing, my man? Nice to see you. Let's see. Who else came in here? Supernova, were you gone by aliens? Is that why you're finally back? Wondering where did aliens get you? Remember, guys, if you have questions, please put them in capital letters. Also, do me a favor if you don't mind, because we got a lot of regulars in our chat room each and every night, and the mods are in there to help you make sure that you guys have a good time. Be sure to give the mods a big thank you for the great job they do to keep our chat room safe, healthy, and free of politics, free of any topic that is above and beyond what we discuss on this show. So thank you, mods, for your great work. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see here. T-Bone, thank you for the membership. Johnny Hargrove, how you doing? And there we go. We're caught up, man. We are caught up. Let's just get this question right out in the open here, Josh. Right off the bat, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because knowing Filth, he probably likes it. Oob to Joe's Main. You've got Lublas. What's your thoughts on marmalade jam?
I'm not a fan.
Agreed.
So my grandmother made strawberry preserves when I was a kid. And so I always had, like, there was always a jar of homemade strawberry preserves sitting on the kitchen table whenever I would go visit them on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, I am very much a jam jelly preserve snob and prefer over everything else strawberry preserves.
Mm-hmm.
Made with like real sugar and, pectin and all of that kind of like the real stuff. The closest thing that I have found, like there's a lot of good, off-label things that you can find in supermarkets and supermarket, but the name brand like that are out there, Smucker's Naturals strawberry preserves are the closest that I can find to homemade strawberry preserves. But because of that, I just don't I don't like, if I go somewhere and they have a bunch of different jams and jellies, I'm asking for strawberry. If they don't have strawberry, apple butter. And if they don't have either one, I'll just eat my biscuit dry. So my dad was a big grape jelly person. So growing up, we always had grape jelly, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but I would go to visit my grandmother and they always had strawberry jelly. So I would, get the off chances of having strawberry jelly, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But yeah, I'm very much a strawberry jam jelly preserves person.
Not me, man. Not me. With marmalade, I'm a strawberry jam guy. I'm the same way with my grandmother with pierogies. I don't eat pierogies anymore because they're not my grandmother's. And they just do not taste the same. Gorgeous Kim Jellin, how you doing? Hope you're enjoying the flossing of your teeth while you're listening to the show.
Yeah, well, I will say in chat, I see some folks saying rhubarb. I have had some strawberry rhubarb jam that is delicious.
No, rhubarb's terrible. Somebody like Filth, he likes marmalade. He's a marmalade kind of guy. He sits on the foyer and eats marmalade.
Isn't that what Paddington Bear eats like all the time?
First Contact, how you doing? I don't know. My dad eats marmalade, and it just grosses me out. How you doing? We got about 30 seconds. Thank you to T-Bone for that incredible super chat. Josh, thank you for gifting some memberships. Really appreciate that. And
Yep.
T-Bone gifted membership as well. Thank you, guys. Marmalade. Marmalade is like a vegan burger. The only good place for it is in the garbage can. That's it. Here we go. Here is the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Josh Rutledge, the UFO Wizard, is here. Right before the break, we were talking about 2027, where it's alleged the aliens are coming. They are apparently, according to Chris Bledsoe, in an armada flying right towards Earth. I don't know what to think about that. How about you, Josh? An armada.
An armada is just a collection of ships, but I think the use of the word, I don't know. I feel like Chris, though, is usually pretty positive on open contact, so I don't think he's using the word in a way that would be to induce fear. So I think he's just saying, there's a whole collection of ships that are coming our way. I think that the thing that, so if we set aside for a moment the possibility of if it's true, the thing that people might be scared about the possibility is, I think it's one thing to think about somebody who sees a UFO, every, once a month or every 3 months or every 6 months. It's another, and to not have any understanding potentially of some sort of a campaign, if you will, for their being here, some sort of a coordinated effort. But when you hear an armada of ships that are coming our way, that is a coordinated effort. And so because we're humans and we have to look at everything through a human lens, we look at ourselves and what we would do going to a new place in a collection of ships. And we look back at, all the things that we've done every time we've moved into an area that has lesser technology than the people that are coming in, colonization, etc. And so I think for a lot of people, because we have to humanize what this could mean, it might produce fear to think, well, they're coming here to colonize us. And so I think that maybe Chris's word choice and message might be one of peace and love. It could be interpreted as the opposite. And so, I don't know. It's now if we pull back into the picture, the possibility of it happening, I don't know, because Chris has made several predictions before that have not come to pass. I even was watching something earlier this week from Patrick over at Vetted talking about Chris's October 7th proclamation that, that's going to be a day that everything really starts to change. But he doesn't go into details about what that means. So it's like October 7th can happen and anything can happen on October 7th and Chris could point to it. It's like, see, I told you. And that's a valid point. Or nothing could happen, and Chris could be like, "Oh no, wait a minute, the date's changed." It's just we've talked about this a lot in the past, Dave, about all these predictions that many of them don't come to pass, and when they don't, there's always an excuse or a reason why it didn't come to pass, and then there's just a new prediction.
Well, I mean, that way they're never wrong, right?
Right.
Right? The aliens turned left at Albuquerque. That's why they didn't show up.
Yep. So I don't know. I mean, I just I'm weary of, like, when I do my work with dowsing rods and things, I sometimes get dates, but I don't share them because I keep them to myself. And if they come true, then I use it as kind of my own personal validation that what I received is valid. But if I share it and it doesn't come true, then it hurts my credibility. Um, so that's why I don't share those types of things. But with Chris and others, they seem to be very confident in the dates and things that they're receiving until they don't happen, and they just pivot and share the new date of when it's going to happen.
Let's get to some audience questions.
Okay.
We want to have a lot of participation from them tonight. And if you're listening on the radio side, if you ever want to participate in our Q&A, you got to come into our YouTube chat or on X at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook as well, and we could get your questions in. Jorge is kicking things off tonight. Is Jeremy Corbell backed by Jesse Michaels and Peter Thiel?
I don't know. I've heard that theory before. I know that Jesse Michaels used to work for Peter Thiel, and so there's a question as to whether or not Jesse Michaels' show is backed by Peter Thiel. I don't know. I mean, Jeremy Corbell is, I don't know what he does like almost everybody else who's in this realm has a day job. So I don't know if Jeremy Corbell has a day job or if he does this exclusively. If he has a day job, maybe that's how he's funding, some of these projects that he's doing. If he does it exclusively, then I would be curious, maybe he's just, wealthy. He married into wealth. Yeah, I don't know. He inherited a bunch of money from his uncle. I have no idea, but it would raise the question, if he does do it as his full-time job, where does the funding come from? Because I don't know. Maybe it's all coming from YouTube. I don't know. It's an interesting question. It does seem that Jesse Michaels and Jeremy Corbell disagree on some things, though, and some of the stuff that Jesse covers or Jeremy covers. They take a differing opinion or a different position. But that's also a pretty common technique that is found in, like, misinformation and disinformation, to have two parties working, in the public eye seeming to be against one another, but actually working in tandem toward the same kind of end goal of, leading, whatever their audience is down the path they want them to go versus where the audience wants to naturally go. So I don't know. I can't answer the question honestly, whether or not it's true or not, but it could be.
I don't think that Jeremy is paid off. If we go back in the UFO history, and this is just what I noticed, and I could be wrong, but just what I noticed, is Jeremy knew about Jesse, and Jesse was the one who was able to get David Grush right off the bat. And then him and Jesse seemed to team up. They then brought Chris Ramsey into the fold, and it seemed to be a healthy trio. But Jeremy kind of kept one leg in, one leg out because of his ties to the legendary George Knapp. And that's where his loyalty is. Jeremy has loyalty to George Knapp.
I can see that. I can see that. Wanting to um, uh, keep George's legacy intact, um, but also, maybe pull in some younger viewers who may not have tuned in to see, to hear what George Knapp had to say. Jeremy Knapp, being of a younger generation, is able to pull in those younger viewers. Um, if he does what he does out of reverence for George, then I tip my hat to him. I do think sometimes he can come across a little abrasive. Um, and I don't sometimes agree with his position on things, but that's okay. I mean, it's okay for us to not agree with each other all the time. It's that discourse that makes a difference. So yeah, it's very possible that he just, like you say, he's um, trying to stay true to George and make sure that George's legacy stays intact.
Josh Rutledge is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We call him the Wizard around here. And we're going to get to Thunderhead. What was supposed to happen in 2027? An alien invasion.
Yeah.
Aliens are supposed to be coming down from the heavens above with a left turn at Albuquerque.
Yep. And
Crescent Stone.
Open contact. We will all know the information.
And if you believe that, I have a bridge in the desert that I'd love to sell you. Love to sell you. First Contact is asking, Josh, what's your opinion on Jerry B. Corbell's recent radio silence? He hasn't done any podcasts, interviews, or public statements for weeks.
I mean, he could be burned out a little bit. He could be working a lot of stuff in the background that he's building up to release. I mean, he also could just be taking a little vacation. The man has been at it for a long time. And I definitely, understand the feeling of redundancy sometimes, of just kind of being stuck in a loop of talking about the same topic, but not really making any strong headway. So maybe it's one, two, or all the above, or something completely unknown to us. And he may be having health issues. His family could be having health issues, et cetera, et cetera. I think that every researcher comes to a point where they question whether or not they want to continue doing the research. And sometimes taking a pause and seeing if you miss it can be that answer as to whether or not this is something that still you feel like adds value to your life.
Probably the smartest comment that we have seen in our chat room in a long time comes from Johnny here. Totally unrelated. Guns N' Roses is the greatest rock and roll band. Yes, I agree 100%. Thank you, John, for bringing some logic and some truth and fact to our chat room tonight. I appreciate that. Josh, I went to their GNR concert in Vancouver this past Saturday night. They played for 3.5 hours.
Wow.
When's the last time you went to a concert and the band you saw played for 3.5 hours?
Yeah. It's been a long time. I mean, not the last concert I went to was Green Day and Smashing Pumpkins. And Smashing Pumpkins played for about 45 minutes, and then Green Day came out and played for about 90 minutes to 2 hours or so. It was a good show, but not 3.5 hour show.
Yeah. It was great. It was absolutely great. Very happy about that. All right, moving on to more UFO talk. Josh Rutledge, the UFO Wizard, is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. There seems to be this fascination with Jeremy Corbell. And for people wondering, his name is Jeremy Kenyon Lockyer Corbell.
Yep.
That's his name. And if he is using a pseudonym, that's fine. Many of us do. I do. Scott is my middle name. Go figure.
I mean, Josh is a shortened version of my first name.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. What could that be?
I don't know.
Thinking.
I don't know.
I'm thinking.
I mean, you know, I'll never tell. I'll never tell, Dave.
Oh my goodness. Now,
I'll just
now
leave
got
you
my
wondering.
brain all triggered here. You got my brain all triggered, you know, but he is somebody though that you either love him or you hate him.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he revels in that. I really do.
I don't know. I feel like he doesn't care. I feel like he, you know, I don't know, of all the people that are in the community that are vocal, you know, not just the, you know, the regular folks that watch the documentaries at home and occasionally go to a MUFON meeting, but all the people that are out there, you know, public speaking, presenting, whatever the case may be. I would say that Jeremy comes across as a very honest person as far as how he presents himself. He doesn't hold back. He is true to who he thinks he is, and he doesn't care if you like him or not. That's who he is, and that's who he's going to be. I mean, he comes across as a very genuine person.
Whether you like it or not, he's going to tell you how it is in his world.
That's
through
right.
His eyes.
Yeah.
And you know what? Whether you love him or not, the one thing he is very connected. He has worked his connections to the bone.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And there are still people trying to track down in the UFO community. And I'm not talking, when I say UFO community, I'm not talking the public like us, but there are people within the UFO community at the Pentagon trying to figure out how he is getting these videos and who is supplying him with them. Because a lot of them, from what I have heard from two different sources over the years, Jeremy has a source who is leaking them in an area where there are less than 400 people who have access to those videos. And one of them or more is giving them to Jeremy.
Well, I mean, I'll say that the stuff that Jeremy comes out with is far superior to anything that I've seen in the government released files so far. And Jeremy tends to provide additional details around what he releases, whereas we don't really get any of that content or detail from the government files. So, you know, I'm okay with Jeremy continuing to release the stuff that he gets. I love that he, you know, is protecting his sources, if there are plural. But you're right. He has made a lot of contacts, over his years of doing this. And, you know, it seems like everybody who wants to break out onto the quote unquote whistleblower scene talks to Jeremy first. It's almost like he's like a whistleblower advisor of, you know, hey, this is who you need to talk to. And this is, I think you should go about it this way. We need to get you in front of Congress and let's do an interview. Or we'll pre-tape the interview and then you'll go before Congress and then we'll air the interview. And I think there's just a lot of coordination that seems to happen, whether that's him or, you know, he has some sort of a producer staff that do that on his behalf. I don't know, but there just seems to be like I said, like he's some sort of an advisor for people who want to come forward and share what they know, connecting them with the right people from a legal perspective or, for book rights or book deals or so on and so forth. He's a mover and a shaker in the whistleblower, um, space.
4.5 minutes ago, the Wizard is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, where we are talking about UFOs and everything along those lines. So, if Jeremy Corbell is as controversial as he thinks, or as we make him, not as he thinks, but as we make him, what is your thoughts then on somebody like Jesse Michaels, who seems to get everybody, came out of nowhere in the UFO world, okay, to all of a sudden become this big player who's interviewing, any big and bad name in this field. And when mean bad, I mean like good bad.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Jesse Michaels is a really hard kind of nut for me to crack. I know we talked a little bit about it earlier. I know that people have made the suggestion that he's backed by Peter Thiel, and that he just maybe expressed an interest in the topic, and so he was put in this, kind of role. I know he has a full professional staff. He has a travel budget as he goes to Peru and various places to do things. So it really feels more like a full blown show production that just happens to air on YouTube. So I might even separate him from, I might put him in the same group as like the Y-Files guy, because he has a full production team as well. But Jesse Michaels, like you said, he just kind of popped in one day and all of a sudden he was out there doing things. And, one thing that he does pull in is he pulls in the younger audience, which is good because we need the younger generations to take interest in this topic, or else it will die when so many of us shuffle off this mortal coil. But I don't know. I do wonder sometimes if he has an agenda, and if that agenda is his, or if it's someone else's and he just happens to be the mouthpiece.
I like how you ended that. I do like how you ended that, because I've wondered the same thing. I'm not as trustworthy. I'm always weary of people who come in out of nowhere and then are getting all of the big name guests.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm wary about that. And it isn't about production value, but I also believe that a lot of it has to do with views. It has to do with views, and it has to do with how many subscribers you have. It's no longer about credibility and name and popularity.
Right. Well, it's like a variety show that happens to be about UFOs.
Absolutely. Now, does he give a good interview? Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Let's be blunt. Yes, he does.
Yep.
Do you think he's an experiencer?
I don't know. I mean, he definitely seems to have a genuine interest in the topic. He could be an experiencer. I've never really heard him talk about it if he is. But as many of us get interested in this topic because we have our own experiences, and then it drives us to want to know more and to pursue it, to fall down the rabbit hole, so to speak. So I don't know if that's the case for Jesse or not, or again, if he just is a very convincing individual and was put into this position to play the character of a UFO enthusiast.
In the next hour, we're going to get more back into the whole disclosure movement, where the real message is. We're going to take a lot more audience questions as well. The UFO Wizard, Josh Rutledge, is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And we love it when the Wizard is on. Why? Because he's so darn smart. He's a part of MUFON in Arizona. He is somebody who is very encapsulated with trying to build contact, summoning, and so much more. He is a paranormal investigator. He is all about the woo and how it delivers into a scientific model. That's why we love the wizard around here. This is Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
Thank you, Vaughn. Yes, you will get to shave my beard at the end of CaribouCon. Yes, you will. I'll keep it growing just for you. I'll put that back up. Guys, we're going to take we're going to go to the dirty one here. It's been a while since we went to the dirty one. Hello, dirty.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Josh.
Hello,
Don't think you're sneaking out. What do you have in there, Josh? You having a little lemonade?
It's water.
What? Do you get some lemon or some lime in there?
No, it upsets my stomach, but I miss those things. I just can't have them anymore.
Well, I will eat all the lemons and limes and spicy stuff for you.
Yeah, please do. Enjoy them to your heart's content.
I will. Might as well do it while I'm relatively young. But look at here, we have Dogman with his DAS Auto Fall Special. Scratch and dent sale. Drive wild, stay legendary. DAS Auto. That's Dogman and Sasquatch Auto, by the way. I'm just putting a little extra paint on this bad boy before it's all done, and yes. So anyone that's wondering, that's here, that isn't normally here, well, I haven't been here for a while because I bought a house, and then now I'm poor. But on the plus side, I have a house. And on the extra plus side, the cats can roam free and beat up all the mice in the neighborhood. It's just been a mice Armageddon, basically. But normally, I would be, for the longest time, I was drawing on Spaced Out Radio. But I have a show on Saturdays, if you're wondering. And on Saturdays at 2 p.m. Pacific, I sit around and scribble cartoons, much like this, and ramble about things like which type of pickle is better, sweet pickles or garlic or dill pickles. And then I put these kind of things together, and then at the end of the show, we roll some dice, and somebody gets a free cartoon and some other prizes once in a while. So yes, if you're interested in more of the cartoon side of Spaced Out Radio, whoops, that's not the pen that I need. These are my fancy watercolor pens, except I've apparently lost one. It was probably the cat. Yeah, it's on the floor. Cats, can't trust them. But yes, Saturdays, 2 p.m., you can sneak into Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel, and I'll be there with my accomplice, Fox Vegas, and we'll be drawing cartoons and giving away artwork at the end of it. And this is Dogman. He works at DAS Auto, which is Dogman and Sasquatch Auto, which I had mentioned previously, and he does all the repairs and everything. Bigfoot does the bookings, and Carl the Alien runs the used car lot part of DAS Auto. I thought I had a cartoon in there, but there's about 10,000 cartoons piled up all over the place. Oh yes, here we are. Here we have Bigfoot, because apparently one day Carl sold the California Nightcrawler a manual transmission car, which obviously, if you know about the California Nightcrawler, they're kind of lacking hands or arms. So Bigfoot says, "You sold Nightcrawler a car with a manual transmission?" Carl says, "Well, his credit was good because he doesn't have arms, Carl." So he got a little bit of trouble for that. Yeah. That's unbelievable. But you know what? He's got his corduroy jacket on. Speaking of, I see a little bit of extra stuff. I forgot the little extra corduroy on there. But this cartoon was drawn previously on a Saturday episode of Cryptic Cartoons with Dirty Filth on Spaced Out Radio. Also, go to Amazon.com, plug in Cryptic Cartoons by Dirty. You'll want to type in just Cryptic Cartoons Volume 2. It'll be the first thing that comes up. There's a gray alien. It's a green cover. And buy one of those and buy one for your uncle. And then when you're done buying those, go to spacedoutradio.com, go to the swag section, and get yourself some Spaced Out Radio socks. And I rave about these things all the time. I know they're just socks. People might just pass it off as just socks, but these bad boys, you can pull them up nice and high, and they stay tight and high on your feet all day. And I work in a warehouse, and I'm slanging like heavy duty stuff all day. And these suckers stay up all nice and tight on my feet all day, and that's beauty. You can't get any better than that. You can also get underwear with Dave's face on them, so Dave's face can be on your crotch all day. But yes, we have another drawing here. This is the March drawing for my calendar that's coming out soon. There's the Kentucky Goblin, the Gnome, and the Leprechaun.
Good job.
Hey, Dave, make sure you go to spacedoutradio.com, buy the socks because they're really good.
That's right. Thank you.
I plug them every Saturday.
Yes. Thank you, Dirty. Thank you to our super chatters tonight, Von Patrick, JSCO, and T-Bone. And thank you to T-Bone and the Wizard for the gifts of membership that you guys got. That is really, really kind, guys. Really kind. Thank you. And we got 10 seconds. 10 seconds before we go.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
Good night. Let's kick off hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on your beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is Fissiped. Fissiped is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in the Wizard, Josh Rutledge, hanging on out with us as we are talking some UFOs. And Josh, I got a message from a friend of mine, Courtney Marcassati. And I'm excited to see Courtney in a couple weeks at Caribou Con. And it was very interesting because she's like, hey, man, have you seen this? Have you seen this? And what it is there's a gentleman on X from the Y-Files. He goes by @Where'sGino. Okay, Y-Files has a couple million subscribers on YouTube. They're a great channel.
Yep.
But he is offering, Gino is putting an open invite to anyone who can demonstrate psionic abilities. He wants to see it happen, wants to see where it goes. Now, basically, what he's hoping is that if you could do it, you'll get a chance to appear on the Y-Files and potentially Joe Rogan and others, if you could do it successfully. What are your thoughts on this of psionics or summoning or CE5 becoming a game?
It's interesting that it's kind of like there's like an Olympics that happens for people who do psi stuff. I can't remember what it's called, like the psi games or something like that. It's kind of similar to that, except this is obviously a very public call out for somebody to come along and demonstrate, that they can do it. I think the harder part would be, what is Gino looking for as proof that it was successful? Because, is just a light in the sky proof? Are photos with orbs around people proof? Like it sounds like a very, I don't know. I have two thoughts. One is, it sounds like it's an attempt to disprove that it's real. And then number two, it sounds like it's an attempt to gain subscribers and clicks and likes.
Well, I mean, look, I can understand where people are very much into the summoning aspect of trying to figure out contact. Lord knows that that was blown up by the what seems to be the now government group Skywatcher, as they've fallen silent publicly. There have been people for centuries who've been doing this.
Oh yeah.
You've done it. I've done it. Many of our public can try it at any time. And here's the free version that you don't have to pay for. Figure out how to do it. Go outside. Not for 10 minutes, not for 20 minutes, not for half an hour. Just go outside. Clear your conscience, clear your heart, clear your soul. Take a couple of deep breaths, meditate on it. Find the place that your eyes keep getting attracted to in the sky. And then just put out a message out of peace, love, and light. Can you please show me where you are? And if you keep practicing that, your signal will get stronger and stronger. And you'll be able to summon them. All of a sudden, there's going to be lights appearing in that area. And they will get closer. They will eventually, get real close to you. I mean, I'm not talking 10, 15 feet, but maybe above your house.
Yeah.
Right?
And
it's that simple, but you have to spend the time to do it.
And I'll say that as you strengthen your signal, as you put it, you'll attract other forms of contact as well. If you're only looking for a craft in the sky, you'll miss. It's like you're walking through the phenomena with blinders on, right? You're only seeing what's directly in front of you, and you're missing all the things that are happening around you. Contact can occur in a myriad of different ways. And so don't be so focused on experiencing a light in the sky that you miss, the entity that's standing just outside of your peripheral vision that otherwise you wouldn't have seen.
That's very true. That's very true. But you don't have to pay to do it. This is nothing that Skywatcher created. It is, and I don't mean to sound foul about that, but I don't like it when people who are new to the community, who are looking for that aha moment, try and take something that's been there for years and make it their own. Not a fan.
I mean, it's, Stephen Greer did the same thing. He came out with his app that's like $10 or $20 to buy and has some tones that he recorded or made something in and a not so good meditation, in my opinion. Like the sound is not the greatest for the meditation that's on the app, but he didn't invent it either. He may have coined the term CE5, but conscious contact has been a thing for thousands of years. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I think psionics is just it's just another group trying to make coin off of taking something that's been around for 1,000 years and saying it's new, giving it a new name.
Well, and that's what they try and do when they try and take over the UFO community. The first thing they do is they change the names. They change the names of everything to try and make it their own. We've seen it over and over.
Yep. And it's I think that the other, like, I don't know if you've seen Mike Batista. He's a former Skywatcher guy. He's been on Ross Coulthard a few times, but he's now out on Instagram pushing for people to come to his event at Mount Shasta and participate in a psionics training event where he'll train you how to do the psionics exercise, and then you all do one together, and then you'll witness things at Mount Shasta. I mean, that is effectively the model that Stephen Greer uses and calls it CE5.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's just the way it is. You know, you don't need to pay somebody to do it.
No.
You really don't.
And so I tell people all the time, we as humans decide the amount of pomp and circumstance that we need to feel like something is important. So if you going out in your backyard by yourself, you don't feel is enough to summon or to get some sort of a contact, then you have to figure out what is enough. Do you need to light a candle? Do you need to sing a song? Do you need to do a chant? Do you need to do a specific meditation? Do you need to play the tones from Close Encounters of the Third Kind before you do the event? But it's all the pomp and circumstance that you put into that ceremony, that ritual that you're performing to make contact. You decide how much you need, not somebody else.
So how do you do it?
Well, I just talk plainly to them. I just like that picture I took of that alien guy sitting in my chair. I mean, I literally just walked into the backyard and said, "Can I take your picture?" And then I snapped 3 photos and I reviewed them and I didn't see anything. And then I kind of heard in my head, put your dog inside. So I put my dog inside, which she kept setting off the motion lights, which illuminated everything. Put my dog inside, motion lights went off. I took one more picture and that little guy was sitting in my chair. But I just talked to him. They're just like, there are people who meet celebrities and they're like, "Oh my God, it's Patrick Stewart." And I'm a Star Trek fan, so I'm going to say that. But like, they just get freaked out because like, "Oh, it's Patrick Stewart and he's done all these." But at the end of the day, he's just a person. He's a person who got the opportunity to do some really cool things. That's awesome. But he's just a person. If you just treat these entities as just another way that life is expressing itself, and not like as deities to be worshipped or entities to be feared or whatever, like you don't have to give them. They're not oracles and sages. They're just another way that life is expressing itself. Just talk to them. Just be, like you said, the conviction of love and in your heart, control your fear. When they do appear to you, control your fear, because if you don't, they will quickly disappear, because they don't want to be in a situation where they have to deal with a human who has a fight or flight response going on. And there's a strong possibility that it could be a fight. So it's control your fear, open heart, and just talk to them. "Hey, it'd be really cool if I could see you tonight. Would that be all right? Maybe in like 20 minutes or something. It'd be great if you like flew by, or, I'm going to take some pictures in my backyard. Maybe you could pop in to one of those pictures. How about it? What do you think?" And just talk to them. That's what I did.
That's all you got to do is just talk. Josh Rutledge, the UFO Wizard, is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Now, Josh, with the summoning aspect of everything, is this something that you would recommend anybody to try?
I would say that anybody could try. However, I do think there are some precautions that everybody should take. Because there are lower vibrational entities that will want to mess with you and could end up following you home if you're out and about somewhere. There are some precautions that you should take to try to protect yourself in the space that you're in. And that, it varies. There's multitudes of different things you can do. You could sage yourself. You could Palo Santo yourself. You could, people who are Christians can wear a cross. There are little pendants for like evil eye that you can wear around your neck. carry an amethyst, carry a quartz crystal. There's all different things that you can do to protect yourself. But I do think it's important that you do work to protect yourself from any lower vibrational energies or entities that may think, hey, here's a person who wants to make contact, has left their door wide open. Let's step in and mess with them a little bit. Let's make them misplace their keys. Let's knock things over in the middle of the night when they're trying to sleep. Let's make them have a nightmare when they haven't had a nightmare in over a year, and all of a sudden they do a CE5 and that night they have a nightmare. So just be protective of your space and yourself before engaging in those types of activities.
And that goes right to what we were saying, the last couple of shows about these triggers that people have. Many people, myself included, were triggered by the ending of Disclosure Day. And some of us even felt reignited, that all of a sudden there was a hidden message in there for us, that we have to now figure out, or maybe it rekindled that contact bug that has been sitting dormant within all of us. So, I mean, there is something to be said about what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that I talk with people about all the time in my business that I do on the side is, the experiences that people have. I believe that they serve a purpose, that they are meant to be like a catalyst, if you will, an igniter, to ignite your passion to want to understand the deeper aspects of reality. And sometimes that flame can start to flicker out because the trials and tribulations of life try to snuff it out. But so things come along to reignite that passion, and whether it be a scene at the end of a movie, or it's been 6 months since I've seen anything, and then tonight I saw a UFO. Or in my case, because I'm an investigator and I'm also very much into the woo, I have to balance between working with things that often don't have a clear-cut explanation, or it can't be measured or passed through the scientific method, but also being an analytical, logical thinker. And so for me, what often happens is I get a MUFON case that causes me to reevaluate some conclusions that I've made about aspects of the phenomenon, or I have an experience that causes me to reevaluate those things. I'll give you an example. I've mentioned this before, but I use dowsing rods. Then I use these to connect and contact and talk to entities. And I was thinking that when I do that, maybe the entities that I'm connecting and talking with aren't actually here. Like they're not in this space that I'm in. It's somehow, my psyche or something, or it's like a channeling situation, and they're, it's moving. So I was out doing a Skywatch last October, and I was showing two individuals how I use these rods to talk with an entity. And then a few moments later, we all stood for a photo, and the entity that I was talking with, or I assume that I was talking with, showed up in the photo that we all stood there and took. And so, that was a challenge. That was a challenge to me. My thinking was the entity's not really there. It's not really interacting with the rods. But then the challenge to me was, look, I'm actually here in this photo that you just took just moments after you were talking with me on the rods. Therefore, your conclusion must not be true. So you have these different experiences that reignite that passion, that cause you to think about the nature of reality in a different way, that causes you to reevaluate the conclusions that you've reached. And I think all of that's necessary. This is why I think there is more to the phenomena than the people who want to put it in neat little buckets of, there's the paranormal, there's the UFO, there's the Sasquatch, there's the whatever. No, it doesn't. It's not all in neat little buckets. It's all part of the same phenomenon. It just expresses itself and manifests itself in different ways for different people.
It really is about manifestation and everything that kind of jumps around with that. The wizard, Josh Rutledge, is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to an audience question here. Let's go to Candace here. Do you ever keep a notebook of your predictions just to see what you hit on, Josh?
I don't keep a notebook, but I have a photographic memory, so I usually remember everything that I get back in various sessions. I remember what those predictions were and if they came true. Or a lot of times it's not predictions, it's like it'll be a concept that I've never heard discussed before. And so I'll be talking with it, with the entity or whatever about that concept. And then weeks will go by and I'll be watching a documentary and it'll have somebody in it and they'll be talking about the same concept that I just got on the rods weeks prior. So to me, that's like what my friends call a pudding moment. When you say the proof is in the pudding, that's a pudding moment because it happened to me, days or weeks later, it comes up in just a documentary or whatever the case may be, which reaffirms that what I received is valid. So if what I received in that one instance is valid, that means all the other content that I received in relation to it is also valid. That's my logical premise. So what I'm working on doing is I've actually spun up a separate YouTube channel that's going to focus all on the work that I do with dowsing rods. It's called Mystic Journeys. And that's going to be where that will become my notebook, so to speak, of all these things that are going to start coming through on the rods, on whether they're predictions or theories or techniques or whatever the case may be. It's all going to kind of be cataloged and captured on that YouTube channel.
2.5 minutes to go here before we go to break. Just a couple last questions about summoning here before we continue on, Josh. Is there a point where you need clarity? And I'm asking this because I already know the answer, but for those of our listeners who may not know, is there a point of clarity that should be made when summoning a craft or summoning a being, because you really don't want the bad guys?
Well, I mean, I think that, so my perspective is if you keep your energy high, you keep your vibrational energy high, if you will, the bad guys can't show up. It's like they're repulsed by you. It's, to use a Star Trek term, you've got your dampening filled up and nothing can get close. That's why I was like, do the work ahead of time, do that little bit of meditation, clear your mind, set your intention. Don't spend an hour before you're going to go out and do a CE5 talking bad about your neighbor or the person you work with and lowering your energy level and lowering your vibrational state, because then you will attract those things. But then also when you do your activity to summon, you could do one of two things. You can specifically say, I'm looking for this type of experience, or you can say I'm open to any type of experience. And then the phenomena can manifest itself in any way, as long as you're open to, I don't want to say experiencing, but you're looking for those other ways that the phenomena may express itself. So it may not be lights in the sky. It may not be a craft. It may not be it may not be a zigzagging thing that's all over the sky. It could be a touch on the shoulder when no one's around. It could be hearing your name called when you're out in the field. The phenomena can manifest itself in a number of different ways. So you can be specific, or you can be open to whatever happens to come.
I love how you put that. The phenomena will never let you know what it's going to do, but it will only give you what it feels you can handle.
That's right.
It is a scary, scary thing. We have the wizard until the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Josh Rutledge is his name, and we love it when he's here bringing his plethora of knowledge on UFOs.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear, buddy.
All right, man.
We are clear.
I know it doesn't translate to radio, but man, I would love to come on and do these with you sometime. Just pop in, get something on the line, ask some questions, get some responses. It'd be fun.
Well, nobody says we can't do that at a different time.
Yeah, I know. Like a Dave special.
We could do that.
Let the chat ask questions, get some answers.
Yeah, we could totally do that. Totally do that.
Yeah, I'm actually doing one of those. I did one last month. It was pretty fun. On Zoom. $10 a head. You can come in and ask. It's capped at 45 people, so we don't get a whole lot of people on there and trying to ask questions. And last time, 15 people showed up, and they all got to ask a bunch of questions. The one we're doing in September is themed around Lemuria and Atlantis. If you feel a connection to either one of those, you can come in and ask questions around Lemuria and Atlantis, and we get responses on their odds.
You look like a good Lemurian.
Actually, I was an Atlantean, but my wife was a Lemurian.
That's why I like her. And she bakes a good Toll House cookie. Your wife make good cookies?
Yeah, when she makes cookies. She's been so busy with school for the last 3 years. She graduates in December of this year. I know she's looking forward to being done.
What's she going to be when she gets out?
She'll have a master's in psychology, same as me, research psychology. So,
wow, good for you guys. How's the kids? Are they back in school yet?
they are. I started a couple weeks back. Doing well. My one daughter who plays basketball made another basketball team, and she's doing that stuff
Good.
again. And my other
Good.
daughter who's doing dance, she's got some solos and some trios that she's working on. So yeah,
Very nice.
and they're 12 now. So 1 year away from being a teen.
My boy starts high school in a week.
Wow.
Because here we don't have junior high, senior high.
Yeah.
It goes 8 to 12 here. So heading to high school.
Yeah. Here sixth grade was included in elementary school, so they're in 7th grade this year, which is technically middle school, but I think it's called junior high here as opposed to middle school.
All right, we got about 90 seconds.
I've set the kitchen to
Yeah, I can't kind of it's gonna be a busy couple weeks. The boys starting school, and the hockey season starts the week after, and then the week after we have Caribou Con, and somewhere between there I gotta go hunting.
This is that, I mean, like hunting at Flight 21 or like actual
All
hunting.
sorts of hunting. All sorts of hunting. "30 seconds. Thank you to T-Bone. Thank you to JSCO and Von Patrick for the amazing super chats tonight. We greatly appreciate the love and support, guys. Also, T-Bone and the Wizard, thank you for gifting memberships to our chat. We greatly appreciate that. I know they love that too. So great job. A few golf claps for you. Good job. Thank you, guys. Here we go. This is the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. The Wizard, Josh Rutledge, is here. And Josh, we're going to go to something that Elon Musk said on a podcast, on
Okay.
why the absence of aliens would be far more terrifying than finding them. He says, "I have yet to see any actual evidence of aliens, and I'm really deep in space. If there's some actual evidence of aliens or an actual UFO, I'll be there in a second. Is it a UFO? Is it advanced technology? That could be very interesting, and hopefully they're friendly. If they manage to get all the way here from another star system, their technology is going to be far in advance. We will be primitive compared to them. But I also think if there aren't aliens, that's perhaps even a bigger concern, because if there are actually or aren't actually aliens in our galaxy or anywhere near us, then this consciousness of planet Earth is like a very tiny candle in a vast darkness, a fragile candle, and we should just do everything we can to make sure it does not go out." What's your thoughts?
I mean, I know, I am a knower that there are other intelligences that are not human that are on this planet. So for me, it's not a matter of what if aliens don't exist. However, I will say that our the notion that he talks about there about a candle in the darkness or whatever, we do only have one planet that we can live on in our solar system. And so if he feels that way and he's willing to put his money towards, things that make our way of life more sustainable and earth friendly and things like that, then I applaud him for thinking that way. Because we continue to use our planet as if there's another one we can go to, or we can just hit the reset button and start over again. And that's not the case. So although I don't agree that aliens aren't real, because I have photographic evidence that they are, I encourage him and others in his position with wealth and power to think about themselves, the planet they live on, and the activities that we are undertaking as a species to make this planet harder and harder for us to live on.
Why would aliens want to come here?
Well, it may not actually have anything to do with us. I mean, everybody always kind of, looks at, if you were to ask just the average person on the street, what intelligent life is on Earth, they would probably just name humans. But we know that dolphins and whales and orcas and the octopus and colonies of ants, and so on and so forth, express different layers and levels of intelligence. Do they build, vast cities? Ants do for sure. Do they live in various social and complex social groups? Orcas and dolphins do. So, there are aspects of human life that are exhibited in species all over the planet. So to assume that whatever comes here from outside of our planet is only here for us is very egocentric. That's number one. Number two is we're also assuming that they're coming here rather than having always been here. If you look at Gene Roddenberry and his vision of Star Trek, may have, later shows after the initial original series may have been influenced by his involvement with channelings that took place in the 70s with a group called the Council of Nine. Many of their topics were around the Galactic Federation and things like that. And that's where Gene Roddenberry continued to grow that concept. When you look at the show within the Next Generation, the next kind of major show in the series, a lot of the planets that they would visit that would have species living on them had numerous different looking species living on the same planet alongside the humanistic looking species that was there. Maybe that's true for our planet as well. If there's ever a case for it's been hidden in plain sight, Gene Roddenberry's view of Star Trek may be one of those places. So to assume that aliens are coming here at all assumes that they haven't always been here to begin with.
If they haven't always been here, where do you think they are coming from? We've heard all the planets. We've heard Venus. We've heard Mars. We've heard, moons from Jupiter, moons from Saturn, including Planet X. Where do you think they're coming from?
I mean, I've personally talked to entities that reside subterranean on Venus. I've talked to entities that reside on Europa. I think that some of them are transdimensional, that they exist in a higher dimensional realm or a lower dimensional realm, and they phase into and out of our dimensional space. I think some of them exist just outside of our ability to perceive. They exist at a different layer of light that we can't perceive, or a different layer of sound that we can't perceive. And so they're constantly here walking amongst us. We just don't, because we can't see and hear them, we don't interact with them. I think all of those things can be true. From a very logical point of view, because we have not proven that one of those things that I just talked about, we have not proven that one of those things that I've just talked about cannot happen. Therefore, they all must be considered as possible. And if we consider all of them as possible, all that does for us is expands our awareness of the vast complexities of the nature of our reality.
Josh Rutledge, the UFO Wizard, is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's throw in a question here. This one from Shogun. What's the story about something happening in the 2030s?
I don't think I've heard that. But I mean, there's always going to be predictions that are going to be made. I mean, I'm sure Edgar Casey or Nostradamus or others have made predictions over the years that fall into those different years and realms. There was the 2012 Mayan calendar thing that was supposed to happen, and of course it didn't. I guess I don't put a lot of stock in predictions. I try to live in the now. I'm not really worried about what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. I'm I just try to live in the now. Experience this moment in time as it's occurring. And whatever is going to occur next is going to occur next. It's outside of my sphere of influence. And so, because it's outside of my sphere of influence, it doesn't do me any good to worry about it.
Do you think then that a lot of these creatures that we are seeing, ETs, NHI, whatever you want to call them, do you think they're interdimensional and maybe not from another planet or solar system?
They could be, yeah. Um, the way that it's been explained to me, and this is, I always do a hard time of trying to articulate this, but if you imagine like the old gel lights, they had those films that would slide over them for different colors, in stage productions and things. Well, if you have a red film and a blue film and a green film and all these different films, and they stack on top of each other, then you get a full picture of different color. But each one in itself is its own layer of color. So that's true of the Earth, that the Earth exists across dimensional layers, and there could be life that exists in a dimensional layer of the Earth that is outside of our perception. And they may not even interact with anything within our dimensional layer of existence. They may walk through solid walls because to them that wall doesn't exist in their dimensional layer. So yeah, I think that there are sometimes occurrences or situations that allow them to either temporarily echo into our dimensional layer, or allow them to communicate with us via those dimensional layers. Like when the veil is thin in October through January, or when solar flare activity spikes up, or things like that. That's why the entities that I have pictures of look like they're just kind of phased slightly into our reality, but not quite, because they're not technically phased into our dimensional layer. They're just temporarily projecting themselves into our dimensional layer. So yeah, I think that a lot of these things could exist. I on a Reddit recently, I asked a question on a Sasquatch related subreddit. What if Sasquatch exists natively in between dimensions? And so that's why we never really find its lair. It just phases in and out of our dimensional reality. When you try to track it down, it phases back into its native state, which is in between dimensions, the space in between. And so, Sasquatch could be, like I said, a dimensional entity that we just happen to encounter occasionally as it phases into our realm of existence. This could be true for a number of different, non-human species. I have also learned that, the human body also has these different layers of dimensionality. And so this is why we can often interact with things on a whole different level than just using our normal, five senses, because we're tapping into those dimensional realities that our body and spirit extend into to be able to communicate with beings and entities that also exist within those dimensional realities.
Josh Rutledge is our guest tonight, the UFO Wizard. Here we're talking about aliens here in the country. Let's go to T-Bone here. Josh, will you try the Estes method when not using dowsing rods?
I have done the Estes method before. That's actually what I started with before I ever picked up the rods. What's interesting is when I do it, it tends to put me in a trance, and I almost go into like a channeling state, which is not, I don't think, always the experience that a lot of people have. I was with Shane Hurd one night, and he did it. We put the the earphones and the head and all that stuff on him, and he had kind of an out of the body remote viewing experience on the moon. So I think that the Estes method can be even beyond what it was originally kind of introduced as, which is just a means to basically use a spirit box to talk to, spirits and entities. Um, for different people, it probably, works differently.
I love this question and I don't know if you'll know the answer, from Derek here. Any thoughts on the island that appeared, then disappeared? That actually happened in British Columbia here, where in the
Oh,
Peace River, they dammed up part of the river, creating a lake in like a mountainous valley of old growth forest. And an island appeared and then vanished of old growth trees that didn't look a day like they were underwater, and
mm.
it's vanished, and many people believe it sank. So no, I don't think it was aliens that stole the old growth, unless they are paying stumpage fees and potentially tariffs on Canada's softwood lumber. So that's what I think it was. Maybe it was aliens paying the fees for some softwood lumber, or it sunk back into the man-made lake.
I mean, that sounds like Dirty's next cartoon right there.
Right? Totally could be. Kim Jellin would like to know more about the underground bases on Venus.
Yeah, I did a session. It's on my YouTube, but it's this entity came through using the dowsing rods. They described that they had a plague that broke out on the surface of Venus, and in their attempts to eradicate the plague, they made the surface uninhabitable, and so they moved underground, and they actually reside in cities underground. The way that the entity described itself to me was very kind of insect-like, antennae, big eyes, like typical kind of thorax and things, legs and such. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting that whole exchange that I went through with it to try to get more information about what life was like for it subterranean of Venus. Again, let's assume for a moment that we as humans actually would release information if we had it. We explore the surfaces of planets because that's where humans live. We don't ever even consider the possibility that things could be subterranean, or if we do, we don't share that information with the general public.
It's almost the exact same as what Valiant's Thor said.
Yep. And if you remember, Valiant Thor was a made entity. Like, he had no belly button. He was made for the purposes of interacting with humans. He was made to look human, to interact with humans. So a species that is insectoid, I could certainly see them making a human-looking entity to send to interact with humans.
Do you think Valiant Thor is still here?
I've heard that he is, and that he's in his ship. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to do an interview with Craig Campobasso, and he talked about going out and seeing Valiant Thor shipped. Again, Craig came across very honest and genuine, so I have to trust him at his word that he has had that experience. So according to him, it's kind of out here in the west area, maybe in California, and it stays, kind of cloaked and just kind of hovering above the earth.
That'd be weird if he came out. Imagine this. Let's be hypothetical for a second.
Okay.
We got about 5 minutes to go. What if disclosure meant trotting Valiant Thor out?
Well, I mean, that would be I almost feel like that would be more of a shocker to the population than an entity that looks nothing like a human. Because it would be a human that doesn't have a belly button, that looks for the most part like a human, I think that would probably cause more psychological upheaval than if they rolled a gray out like they did in Disclosure Day. Because it would cause people to say, well, are there other planets with colonies of humans? And there may be. I don't know. That would be an interesting. It would be interesting.
It would be. It would be, because if Valiant Thor and his team were to come out and were to literally, have their full understanding of disclosure, where they're from, I'm sure there would be a number of people who are just like, nah, don't believe it. Not true. Just humans acting like aliens, false flag, you name it. I get that. I can appreciate that. But I do think there would be something more to that if they actually trotted out Thor, because it would go very much against the negative alien grain that we have been seeing the last number of years. It would definitely be something where they could trot out where he's saying, I've been working for the government for a long time. I've been here a long time. This is where my craft is. And if you want to see it, here it is, and then let it light up in the sky. I mean, there's so much that could be done with all of this.
Yeah. And when you think about the story of Valiant Thor, he was, he wanted to share what he knew. He wanted to better humanity, but not at the expense of letting us have advanced technology that we would use to harm one another. I don't know. I think I would be really worried, honestly, about the potential for some portion of the population to call him the second coming of Christ, and what might ensue if that happened.
That would be different. That would be real. And you're right. People might do that. People might do that and make that connection religiously, because we're always looking to hang our hats on someone.
Yeah. That's why, I feel like, an insectoid or, something like that. If they roll that guy out there, I don't think most of the population is going to be like, that's the second coming of Christ. So that is less likely for a religious impact to spark something in the world that would cause, a significant upheaval. Obviously, it would be something we would have to reconcile with, that there is a walking, talking ant person standing before us, but not so much in the form of, is this some sort of a prophecy fulfilled?
Man, could you imagine? Could you imagine? I mean, that would be the way to do it. All of a sudden, you have the president come on out with Valiant Thor. Let me introduce you to Valiant Thor, a handsome, handsome man from Venus. They don't make him any better looking in Venus like Valiant Thor.
Oh, he doesn't have a belly button. Show him, Valiant, that you don't have a belly button.
No belly buttons allowed on Venus.
So yeah, I don't know. It would be, that's like, somebody could probably write a book on the whole premise of what if Valiant Thor was disclosure.
My friend, we got 20 seconds. Let everybody know where they can find your work.
Yep. You go to my website, ourmysticjourneys.com. That's OUR mysticjourneys.com. That's where everything that I've kind of talked about tonight, as far as using the rods or talking with things, that's where all that kind of stuff happens. And if, anybody wants to do a rod exercise, I do want to have one coming up in September 24th. We're going to be talking about Atlantis and Lemuria, and all that's on my website as well.
Josh Rutledge, the UFO Wizard, thank you for coming on in. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller, Robin Haynes in the Q&A. We will be right back, everybody.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate
It. It was good. And appreciate the invite.
Yeah, we'll talk soon, okay?
All right, man. Later.
All right, brother.
Good night, everybody.
Love Josh. Amazing guy. Absolutely. Wrong one.
Stop now! You're under arrest! Hands up! Don't move!
Don't get caught without your Spaced Out Radio merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, socks, hats, stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can look the part? We don't have ugly merch, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Dirty filth. Dirty filth. Dirty filth.
Object is heading north 045 degrees. It's definitely not a plane. It seems to be tethered to something. Is that a banner, Joe? Caribou Con. Does anyone know what Caribou Con is?
Caribou Con, one of the BC Caribou region's best-kept secrets. Until now. Join our panel of renowned paranormal experts for a weekend of fun and intriguing presentations. Go to cariboucon.com to book or inquire now.
Over here. Look at this.
Discover Spaced Out Radio on all your favorite platforms. We're live every single night with the best in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained. And you can find us on all your favorite platforms. Head over to Instagram for behind the scenes and daily weirdness, TikTok for quick mind-bending clips, Facebook for community discussions, and X for real-time updates and hot takes. Wherever you scroll, Spaced Out Radio is there. So go search Spaced Out Radio on every platform, hit follow, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. The Weird is waiting. See you there.
The McNeil House is one of several buildings at the 108-mile heritage site said to be haunted by spirits of a time long forgotten. But would you stay the night? Along with guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations, Haunted 108 is offering a chance to spend the entire night inside the historic McNeil House by booking one of our B&B style sleepovers, where you can experience the hauntings firsthand, meet the resident ghost cat, and witness unusual activity. If you dare to turn history into a night you'll never forget, book your spot now at haunted108.com. Spots are limited. Will you be brave enough?
All right, let's bring in the Robinator. There she is. Hi, Robin.
I can't hear anything.
Hello, can you hear
Got
me?
nothing.
Okay, you're going to have to reconnect then, because I can
Mhm.
hear you.
Let's see.
That was weird. All right. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget to, hey, Thurston Howell III, how are you? Here we go, everybody. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in as we prepare for Swamp Dweller and Robin Haynes with the Cryptid Q&A coming on up. But first, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You could follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Tub. Yeah, maybe it's a tub, but it's a club too. Fissiped. Fissiped is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. My grandparents used to live in the Ozarks in a tiny house in the woods. I loved it there. Being from West Texas, it was always nice to resort to a place with trees. After a year or two of living in the house, my grandparents decided to renovate to make it look more like a logged cabin. I had always felt something really unsettling about the house and warned them to be careful because renovating the house can stir up unpleased spirits. They went ahead with the renovations. Gorgeous woodwork on the house with 2 gorgeous decks looking out to the mountains, and an entire new living area in the basement. It was gorgeous, and I was very excited to stay in where we were that whole summer. When I arrived, the atmosphere was tense. It felt angry, even though my grandparents were always very welcoming. It was quite strange. I got an official tour, and for the most part, the interior was the same. Then we went to the basement. I was overwhelmed with fear. I was hesitant to go down alone, and when I would, I could never stay for long. I always slept upstairs and never felt safe down there. One day, I was making my way down the stairs to get some laundry, which was located across from the basement. I had only taken about 3 steps down when I suddenly felt cold and couldn't move. I felt petrified. It wasn't too long before I felt a force in my back, and the next thing I knew, I was sliding down the stairs, still so petrified that I couldn't even scream. It was a silent fall. When I could move again, I rushed for my clothes and ran back up the stairs and didn't go back down for a few days. A week or so went by. It was July 3rd and it was storming all day, but it was pretty warm outside. My grandparents had left for a party down the street and I had decided to stay out and hold the fort, all alone by myself. I was upstairs in the big open loft on their computer, just killing some time. It was still storming outside, and it was the last moments of daylight. I was listening to music with my headphones over my head, browsing YouTube and the likes. I felt a familiar cold breeze, but instead of my entire body, it was just my neck. And instead of being extended cold, it was brief, as if someone was blowing on it. I was not moving. I was too scared to even breathe, and as I stated, I was still, with my headphones on. They flew off my head with such force and hit my computer screen in front of me. I screamed, I ran, I panicked. I tried turning on the TV, but all it was doing this really loud, startling static. It's the only way I can explain it. I tried turning it off, but it wouldn't. I tried to calm my nerves, and I looked at the painting of a meadow my grandparents had hanging by the TV. And then I saw it. I saw a man with the most sinister evil face I'd ever seen, with empty white eyes, that I still feel so much fear. I ran outside into the rain, shoeless and terrified. I walked to the house where my grandparents were, never explaining what happened.
Thank you, Swampy, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to listen to each and every night. So make sure you tune on in. From the swamp to the forests and the mountains all around, Robin Haynes is here with the Cryptid Q&A.
Robin Haynes walks soft where the tall trees sway. She hears Bigfoot whisper what the wind won't say. Through the veil of the forest where the wild men play. The Bigfoot psychic talks to Sasquatch every day. Only on Spaced Out Radio's Cryptid Q&A.
Robin Haynes is here. Cryptid Q&A. She joins us once a week for an intelligent, insightful, yet wooful conversation. Robin, welcome back.
Hi, how are you tonight?
I am good. Where are you on your earthly travels tonight?
Oh, it's been busy tonight. I did Bigfoot Michigan Rob's show earlier. So I went from there to here. So hopefully some of the ones there came over here tonight, or vice versa. So it's been busy. Cryptids are getting more active, like pounding on walls and getting into things. Definitely more active. We've had a lot of activity in the backyard lately. The dogs are going crazy, but the dogs like them. Like, they'll get in my backyard and play with my dogs. So it's like the dogs don't freak out. The only time they freak out, I've got one, and I've had him 9 years, but he was excessively abused before I got him. So anything sets him off that's different. So like if there's a strange one that comes back there that he's not used to, he's not getting off the deck. That's not going to happen. But the rest of the time, they're all excited when they're back there.
How come they're getting more active right now? Is it because it's a time of year?
Yeah, you've got a couple things that are happening right now. They're starting to get things ready for winter. Just like a person would. They're storing food. They're catching more prey than normal. They're, like in Michigan, they would bury the fish underground in the sand. They would never do it in dirt, but in the sand, they'd bury them in the sand. And you'd go around my property and you'd see all these little mounds, and every one of them had a fish under it or inside of it. And they're catching more deer. They're catching more rabbits. We've had confirmed sightings of people that have gone into different caves and found these deer, and they're literally gutted. And you can tell that it wasn't cut like with a knife. Something ripped it because the flesh is, torn. And they'll get, extra rabbits, whatever they need, berries. They're going to go in the farmers' fields. They're going to get whatever's left. If there's cornfields, they're going to be grabbing corn. If there's bean fields, they're grabbing beans. I mean, they love it when the farmers plant all this stuff because they can go out in the middle of it and take as much of it as they want. And who's going to know? Nobody's going to know. They're grabbing more chickens out of the chicken houses this time of year than they normally do. You know, you've got a chicken house that has thousands and thousands of birds. They don't even have got a head count. They're not checking it every night. They can go in there and get what they want. Nobody's the wiser. So they're getting ready for the winter time, you know, just like everything else does. And you've also got babies are now mobile. I have seen more babies in September and October than I have any other time of the month. And they're not newborns, you know, they're a month or two old, but they're big enough now to come out and start walking around. Of course, here in the States, we're having this massive heat wave. You know, it was a little bit cooler 2 days ago, but then we got slammed again today. So, you know, they're bringing the kids out. They've got the young boys that they're training to hunt. They're taking them out to help them get ready. And then, you know, then the ever-present frequency rays that we've had going, the solar flares we've got going. So it's just making it a really active time right now. I think there's more people noticing them, whether it's through mind speak or visuals or, you know, finding something they've done, whether it's a structure or knocking on a window or something. But there's definitely more activity up.
Are they noticing an increase in people searching for them?
They are. They are. They're a little bit worried about it. But at the same time, you know, you've got the ones that just want to be left alone. You've got two sets. You've got the ones that actually want the disclosure because they want people to know what they really are and stop thinking they're monsters. And they're curious about people. Then you have the other flip of the coin, and those just hate us because of everything we've always done to them. And those go way up in the mountains. So it's kind of like a give and take. You know, you got a 50-50 on that one. But they're very much aware that people are getting more curious. And from where I'm sitting, and the contacts that I get from different people contacting me, I've noticed just a huge upswing in contactees right now. They seem to be more open to trying to initiate contact, but I personally think that has a lot to do with the frequency raise, because the higher everybody's frequency goes, the more comfortable they are around them. And that when the frequency goes up, it separates the low vibrational people, which are usually not kind, from what they call the pure of heart people, which are higher frequency. And that gap between the two is a little bit wider. So, you know, it's a little bit easier for them. And the people in the higher frequency are more accepting of them. In that higher frequency, you're more open-minded. You accept things a little bit more for what's there, you know, because you're not running it through that third dimensional brain that says these things don't exist. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And they told me 4 years ago, and they've been very accurate on a lot of stuff they've said. But 4 years ago, people were coming to me and going, you know, things are getting so bad, are we in the end times? So I went to them and I asked them, and they said, no, it's not the end times, it's a reset. And I said, what are you talking about? Whole world's going to reset. And I said, how? And all they would say is, you'll find out, but the whole world is going to reset. It'll be a whole different world. And I'm like, okay. So now here we are 4 years later, and that's exactly what's happening. Different things that they predicted on the way here have all happened. And I think that has a lot to do with the more contact as well.
But are they showing themselves more to people?
I think so.
Okay. Why is that?
I think for the same reason. I think they're trying to give people a chance. And I'm not saying all of them, because there's some that are still very adamant. They just want us to leave them the hell alone because we're so awful. But there are certain groups, and I think they're trying to give people a chance to see how they react. The people that are in that higher frequency, that are raised into the collective consciousness, are actively working in a higher frequency. They are absolutely showing more. The people that are not advancing towards that ascension, or the people that are low vibrational, not at all. And that doesn't mean that everybody that hasn't had a sighting is low frequency or low vibrational. That's not what that means at all. You can be pure of heart and have a good baseline frequency that's high enough to have activity with them. and tap into abilities and everything, and that's fine. What I'm talking about are people that have really raised their frequency higher, whether trying to or not, and their mind has expanded and are actually in situations where it's easier for them to be seen. I mean, I don't think it's like a mad rush, but there definitely is an incline to it.
Is it a sign that these cryptids, whether it's Sasquatch or any other cryptid, are wanting to be seen, or that they are wanting to be, or we're just encroaching more on their territory?
I think a little bit of both, to be honest with you. More people and more people, as time has gone on, are like rushing out into the woods. And again, frequency plays a part in everything. So as that frequency goes up, it triggers them, and they are more inclined to want to see what this is all about. So they are encroaching more and more. But I think we're still, as far as them coming to us, we're still on that 50-50 line, because there are just as many that absolutely hate us and want to stay away from us than the ones that do want contact. But those will go so far deep in the woods or so far up in the mountains to avoid having any contact at all. But the ones that are down where, they're curious about people, from what they've said to me, from what I'm hearing from other people, they are definitely in small ways trying to make contact, whether it's knocking on a window, a wood knock to somebody that they normally wouldn't wood knock to, some form of communication to at least get the ball running. But they can't do it by themselves. I mean, we have to have an open heart. We have to have an open mind. We have to learn about their culture. If you don't learn about their culture, it's not going to work when you do meet them. And it takes time. It's not something that, sometimes it can go overnight, but most of the time there's a lot you got to do. And then we go out in the woods and we just assume, okay, I want that sighting right now. And the first thing you learn in their culture is we have no control of anything, and they're going to do things on their terms.
So that to me would signify that there is a communication level that is open for discussion.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you start working in a higher frequency, mind speak, everybody can do it. They can. It's just a fact. They can. But your frequency has to be up enough, and you have to recognize it. Because of how it's said that it is, everybody assumes it's these big words in your head, that there's no way you're going to miss it. And it can be that way, but there's a multitude of ways that you get it that are not like that, whether it's a thought, a feeling, a sense of knowing. Some of these things are just emotionally charged, energetically charged. It's not hearing it in your head. It goes through your consciousness, which is also part of where the mind speak comes from, that collective, and into you. So you could get a picture of something in your mind, something that plays like a video. You could get a word spelled out in letters. You could get a random thought or a feeling that you have no idea why you're thinking or feeling that. A sense of knowing about situations that you don't even understand why you know, because it didn't come from you. And that is a way to communicate. And that's a lot of times how it starts. And but they only go on what they think you're ready for. We always say, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. And I did the same thing. I'm ready, do this, do that, and I'd seen them for years. I'd been out with them for years. They're telling me they want me to work and do all these things for them. And I'm like, I'm ready, let's go, let's go. And they're like, we'll tell you when you're ready. You don't tell us. I mean, talk about the ego deflated. You're not allowed to have ego to begin with, but then I'm like, I've seen you guys. I've been around you. You've come up and played with my hair. You've done all these things. I can do this. No, we'll let you know. And I'm sorry to say, but they're always right. I wish they weren't little smartasses, but they are right. And they are going to do things on their timeline, not ours. And their timeline runs different. Like we may feel like if we saw them, we would not be frightened, because we think in that third dimensional brain, we are ready to see them. The reality is very different. And I get a lot of people that will contact me and be like, I have PTSD just from the sighting. But yet for 2 or 3 years, that's all I wanted was to see one. And then when I saw one, it terrified me. because you're dealing with the third dimensional brain that's telling you that you're looking at something that you've had generations and the entire world tell you doesn't exist. And it can't process it. It can't accept it. Because these are a higher frequency being. So as your frequency goes up and these things happen, you're very accepting of them because it comes from a place of a higher frequency, which matches theirs is higher, but it's still a higher frequency like they have. So yeah, there is more activity. I get a lot more people that are picking up mind speak from them. I get a lot more people that are seeing them outside their windows or some form of communication, whether they're having a stick structure placed at their house, wood knocks, whatever. There is much more activity than there has been as far as in the communication. And I think it's only the beginning. I think the next couple of years, we've got so many things that are going to come to light. And whether it's with the cryptids or with the aliens, I mean, we are going to have open communication within the next year or two with the aliens. You're not going to be able to accept it if you don't get on higher frequency because your brain won't allow you to. So it's like you got to get with the program. And I think that's going to be a big catalyst and a big push as well. Because when you get people that start believing because they've seen it, you know, the old saying is believing is seeing. I mean, seeing is believing. That's a load of crap. That's not how it works. You have to believe that the possibility exists. So when you see it, you come from a place in your consciousness where you can accept it. If you're only waiting to have that visual, your brain won't accept it when you see it. But like I said, we've got a lot of disclosures that are supposed to come. If it comes when they say, who knows, within the next year or two for open contact. And we've been pre-programmed all of our lives that these things are all bad, which is ridiculous. There's just as much good as there is bad out there. I mean, look at us. I think we're more frightening than any other race out there. And, you know, you've got to find out which is which. But as that comes, the rest, I think, will come too, because they're not going to have to be hiding out anymore. But then you got to get the government to acknowledge that they're there. And that's going to be the bigger problem because they're still hunting them.
Why would the government be hunting them?
I mean, there's a lot of reasons that are way above my pay grade, I'll be honest with you. But I mean, some of them off the bat is look at your national parks. The revenue from national parks is enormous. Absolutely enormous. And you're talking about beings of any type of cryptid, alien, open portals, all of these things. The easiest thing you're going to run into out in those national forests are Sasquatch or dogmen. Those are the nicest things out there. They can't protect us from these. None of that stuff. You're talking about things that have paranormal abilities. So they really can't. They can try to protect us to a certain degree. Like there's areas where they've gone in and just massacred them and killed everyone around. There's places that they've found the structures, burn them to the ground. You know, I mean, they've done all these things, but they can't 100% protect us. They just can't. And I'm not talking about like the military where our soldiers are at, you know, that fight for our country. God bless them. They give so much to us. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the lower level governments. And then you've got the whole, what are they really? We know they're human on one side. You know, I know what they've told me they are on the other side, which scientifically we can't prove because we don't have the DNA to match it. So you're looking at a human hybrid. So then how do they rationalize what they've been doing to them all these years? The hybridization they've done to them, the putting them in the underground bunkers that I was told by a military contact back in 2015 that they were doing this out in the western states, thousands and thousands of bunkers underground. And I've not had confirmation that that ever happened other than from the cryptids, and they claim it has. But how do they explain that if they're part human? And then they have to explain the other half.
Right.
And not only that, it's going to challenge people's religious beliefs.
Robin, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. The Q&A with Robin Haynes continues on Spaced Out Radio as we round third and head for home.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear. We got a bunch of questions for you coming up in the next half hour.
Awesome. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's, I'm sure, a multitude of reasons that, like I said, are way above my pay grade. But I mean, those are the most basic ones. Not to mention the fact that there's all these cryptids running around that aren't identified because they created part of them. So, you know, you got ETs creating them, you got government creating them, some that were born here. It's just an awful lot.
Well, I love it. I love it.
I know you just want to put a big banner up that says, "Can't we all play nicely together?"
As long as they do not come to my spot, that's all I care about.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I want. Stay away from my spot.
They've never come in and destroyed my spot. When I lived in Michigan, I had a minimum of 5 helicopters over my house every day. I couldn't go to the grocery store without a helicopter following me. And it was ridiculous. I had people that didn't want to come to my house because they were being watched by the helicopters. If I went anywhere, I got followed by a helicopter. It was insane. They never came on, to my knowledge, if they were on the ground and back in my woods, they had to have done it at night, and I was not aware of it. But I never had them come in and burn anything down. I know of different areas that they've done that, but they didn't come on my private property and do that. But they sure watched them like a hawk. I mean, other than them and the dogmen, you know, and the occasional UFO that would land in my yard, they could have been up there for any number of reasons, but they were out all day. It freaked my kids out. It was really bad. And this went on for like 2 or 3 years. But it ought to be interesting. I'm anxious to see what they're going to say with the open contact.
I'm curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I am too. Stephen Greer has had a lot out about it, you know, and trying to get some kind of cooperation with the government, because the government, according to him, and I don't know if this is right or not, the government is just, you know, putting it off as how awful they are. And that really is the furthest from the truth on most of them. There are some that are awful and lethal. I mean, I've been attacked by them before, but there are some that are actually quite kind and compassionate. And they have helped us a lot more than anybody has any idea. Whether it's, you know, nuclear weapons or whatever, they have helped us. There's talk that they're going to help with this whole ascension process. And some things that are supposed to happen in our future, you know, as far as with our Earth and our planet. You know, we better hope that they're gonna, because if not, we're screwed. Because we don't know what to do with it.
We got just under 2 minutes, Robin.
Sounds good. Now, you didn't go out to your spot this last weekend, did you?
No, I was out of town.
Yeah, that's what.
We're going back on Sunday.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Yeah. It'll be good.
Yeah, they wondered where you were.
Let them know we're coming back this weekend.
I did. I told them. I said, "Oh, they're busy." I said, "They'll be back." We just wondered where they were.
I need you to start preparing them because we're going to be bringing a few people quite often for the for the week of Caribou Con?
How many are you bringing out?
Well, there could be as many as 10 there.
That's going to be rough on them.
I know, but just let them know. I
I'll
don't want
talk.
to surprise them.
Yeah, I'll let them know.
Yeah.
It's just all the different frequencies. But I'll start letting them know now so they have an idea.
It's all out of peace and love, too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And they're going to read everybody's intent.
Yeah. All right. Big thank you to T-Bone and JSCO and Vaughn Patrick for the super chats tonight. Thank you to T-Bone and the Wizard for the gifting of memberships. We greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to show some love to our great mods in our chat room who keep it really awesome in there. And here we go. Let's kick off the cryptid Q&A with Robin Haynes. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to take Robin till the top of the hour. We're going to have some fun answering audience questions. If you ever want to get your questions in, all you have to do is hop into our YouTube channel. We got a great chat room there, highly moderated, so that way you don't have any jerks in that chat room. Same as on X and Facebook. We'd appreciate you doing that for us. Also, just have fun. Come join us. There's good people in there. We'd love to see you and say hello. Robin, you ready for some questions?
Absolutely.
All right. Mikey's asking, if the government does know these Bigfoot exist and reports of them taking bodies, what is the reality of any of them being chipped or tagged by the government? Why not share the data?
Well, I do know that they do try to tag them. I heard from people that have claimed, I'm going to say claimed because I wasn't there, to have witnessed them shooting from helicopters down at them with guns that have tags in it. The Sasquatch were actually the ones that told me about it first because they were trying to get them out. So, we know that they're doing that. That's so that they can keep an eye on them. And probably and this is just a guess, is that it'll take them back to the clan that they're at so they can go after all of them at that point in time if they're going to try to remove them or at least keep an eye on them. But yeah, there's absolutely no reason to believe that they're not doing this. They do that with the dogmen. The dogmen that they created have all got tags in them and they've got chips in them. They can do whatever they want. So there's no reason to think that they can't do that with Sasquatch as well. But they're not going to share, in my opinion, they are not going to share any of that data. That is strictly for them to have control over the situation and monitor it.
Robin Haynes is our guest. Here we go with Paramarv. What have the Bigfoot told you about how they feel about dogs as opposed to dog men?
Well, regular canine dogs, everybody talks about how they kill all these dogs. They have a problem with the dogs when they're barking at them all the time. It's like if you're out and you're walking around your block and one of your neighbor's dogs comes out and is barking at you and jumping at you and snapping at you, you're going to protect yourself. Or if one of your children or grandchildren are with you and that's going on, you're absolutely going to protect yourself. And that's what they're doing. I have had so many dogs, it's ridiculous. I've never had them hurt one. Never. I mean, when I would move somewhere, I'd go outside with my dogs. I'd love on them and I'd talk to the Sasquatch and say, these are like my pets or my kids, just like you have pets. And they do. They have wolves, coyotes, cougars, bobcats, whatever, raccoons, whatever's out in the woods, they'll make a pet out of. And they seem pretty good with it. Now, we had a situation here where there was some hound dogs that had been cut loose and then the people dumped them and they were going after the Bigfoot kids and they ended up killing them. They didn't want to do it, but they didn't have a choice. They were going after their children. I had a coyote run by my front door and almost nail my grandson. I'm a pacifist. I don't kill anything. But when that thing went at my grandson, if I could have, I would have blown it away. You're going to protect your family. So I have a hard time, you know, being really angry with them. If they feel that that dog is a threat, if maybe the intent that the dog has in it is that if I can get off this chain, I'm going to come over there, I'm going to hurt you or whatever, they're going to hurt them. They really will. And that's unfortunate. I'm not, you know, in favor of it, but I can understand it. But they truly have never been unkind to any of my animals at all. Now, as far as the dogmen, you've got some that don't want anything to do with the dogmen. They want the dogmen to go one way, they'll go another. My experiences and multiple other people that I've talked to, they don't care if they're there. Like mine will share territory. I had a hybrid created from a dogman and a Sasquatch in Michigan. I have a picture of her. We named her Trudy. And she had this big bushy tail, but she had like a teddy bear head. Definitely not a Sasquatch head, but it didn't have a full snout either. And she always hung around with the Sasquatch. So there's got to be something genetically that's going to link them. But most of them don't care if they share territory. They may not all be sitting around, you know, making dinner and singing Kumbaya with each other, but they're comfortable as neighbors. But there are parts of the world where they, you know, it's very segregated. They don't want that one in their territory, or, you know, they don't want to be close to the Bigfoot, or they don't want to be close to the dogman. It depends on the clan. But I know more people than not have told me that they've seen them, you know, all sharing territory together. But they're not trying to hurt each other. I think there's a certain amount of respect there. I've never heard from any of the Sasquatch or dogmen, and I'm not saying it can't happen, but I've never heard one of them tell me that they were attacked by the other. The only time I ever did was there was one group of dogmen. I don't know if they were government created or what, and they were going after a Sasquatch clan. But other than that, one time, they never bothered any of the ones that were around me. You know, I guess it's like if you have bad neighbors, you know, or if you live in an area that's segregated. It just depends on the individuals. But for the most part, they just ignore each other and do what they're going to do. Like they walk around here. I've had dogmen walking around here. My next door neighbor saw two dogmen walking across the field across from a driveway. And there's Sasquatch all over here.
All right, Robin, let's go to another question. Let's go to T-Bone.
Hey, T-Bone, welcome back.
Maybe you could tell T-Bone and everybody, what's with Sasquatch and braided horsehair?
Okay, I asked them what that meant. The group that I talked to said there was 3 strands in a braid. And the middle strand, they claim stood for creator, Tahoe, God, whatever you want to call it, whatever that clan refers to him as. That was the middle strand. And then the left, I'm trying to think if it was the left or the right. I think the left was supposed to be their people and the right is our people, or it was reversed. But one strand meant their people and one strand meant our people. And they said when they braided it together, it was the coming together of the people. So they will also braid it. I've had them, I have to have a picture somewhere of it, where they braided our pony's mane. And when they did it, they made it almost like a handle. And I would go out there and there would be mud all over that handle where you could tell the kids were getting on there, and muddy butt prints all over his back. And my kids were too old to ride him by then, but he'd have little muddy butt prints on his back, and that little handle that they had created was solid mud. So you knew something was hanging on to, and it looked like a handle. But they also, at the bottom of the braid, you can tell if it's theirs, is they do a little weird loop at the end to kind of knot it. They don't braid it like we do. It looks like very similar to the braid throughout the body of it, but at the bottom there's a loop and a different kind of knot.
Do you not think, though, that it is a form of communication?
I think pretty much everything they do at this point is a form of communication. You're talking about a being that everything is a thought process. Like they don't just do something for nothing. Like sometimes, you know, they'll be silly and they might do something like that. Like I was talking to one time and I'm like, you know, all your structures, I know they're all communication. He says, yeah, except sometimes we just do them for fun. or the kids will just do them for fun. But for the most part, they are communication. And in the braids, is it a form of communication? It's very possible. I'm not going to say it's not. I know that when they do the initial braids and just do the one braid down, and it is communication. They're communicating that it's the coming together of the people. There's a meaning in everything they do, which is communication.
Robin Haynes is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Do you think the Sasquatch, or any cryptid for that matter, is migrating north to escape the extreme temperatures right now?
No, they don't migrate. They're not like an animal. They don't migrate. Are there some that will per se go from Michigan where it's really cold and go down south? They will, but it's not a migration at all. Like, take that right off the plate. It's not a migration any more than we have people that live in Michigan and they're like, it's too cold here. I'm going to Florida for a couple months or for a month because it's warmer. They may choose to go down there. I had one that I'm very close to in Michigan, and his mate was actually from Florida, and her mom was in Florida, and she hated Michigan winters, and she would go back down to Florida and stay with their mom in the wintertime for a month or so and go back and forth because it was just too bloody cold. But it's not a migration. Now, you'll find them follow herds of deer, elk, whatever, caribou, moose, they will follow for food, but they are not migrating. They're simply following a food source. So like you hear about, everybody sees them at Pikes Peak with the elk herds. And they think, oh, look at, they're migrating. No, they're not migrating. It's called survival. They're going for a food source, and they're only sending the hunters to go do it. The rest of the clan is back where it was before. Because they'll stay right there. They're used to the weather. They acclimate to it. They know how to use fire. Not all clans will use fire, but they are very well aware of how to use it. They get the older wood so that the smoke isn't prevalent. And, they stay warm, whether it's in a cave, underground tunnels, what have you, abandoned houses or whatever, they will go in there to stay warm. But no, they do not migrate.
Next question comes from T-Bone again.
Okay.
Is their food situation why they seem to be having more urban encounters?
I think that's a really good point, and I think that would add to it. You have restaurants and everything and dumpsters, and it's a really easy food source. Salt Fork. I was only at Salt Fork. Well, I've been there 2 or 3 times now, but the first time I went to Salt Fork, there is a female. She's just a young female, and she would go up and get in the dumpsters at night because it's easy. I lived in Shiawassee County in Michigan, and I lived in a very, very tiny town, but we had a pizza place. And the owner would throw, pizza scraps or leftovers from the table or whatever. They'd all go in that dumpster. And there was countless sightings. And this is a really tiny town. Like it was only like 3 or 4 businesses in the whole town. And they were forever either finding footprints, or the top of the dumpster had been moved over, or they had actual sightings of them getting food out of it. And we had, from where I was at, there was this little restaurant, like a family-owned thing. And they had pinball games and stuff like that. There was a little bit of a bar in it, but it was more of a restaurant for families. And they'd go down there and get stuff out of that dumpster all the time because I'd find it up in my woods. And they were like a mile and a half away. So yeah, they absolutely will get into the dumpsters.
Robin Haynes is our guest. As we continue on, let's go to Mikey. Every animal has its role to keep the planet and life on Earth balanced and in place. What is Bigfoot's role in that?
They're guardians, they're watchers, just as the dogmen are. They do energy work. They're such a high frequency. They help with the energy. They help create the balance with nature, help with the earth. And they're watchers. The dogmen, I think, are more guardians, but the Sasquatch are as well. There's countless reports that are out there of children or people that have gotten lost in the woods. and either a dogman or a Sasquatch shows up and helps them. You don't hear a lot about them because the public would rather thrive on the bad stuff because it's sensationalized. But there's a lot of really good stuff that they do. And they do help an awful lot of people, both of them, not just the Sasquatch. And so, that's their role. They're guardians of the planet. They're watchers. They're a high frequency, multidimensional being. They both are. They're, the Sasquatch is a human hybrid. I know what the dogmen have said they are. We will wait to see what Dr. Ketchum gets back from her study because we're waiting on test results from that to confirm whether or not what they told me is what she gets. But, they're no more animal than we are. Whatever they're created with is why they look the way they look. And, you talk about the dogmen, about why there's all these different types. There are all these different types because it depends what canine they're crossed with. Clearly, there's canine in it. If they're crossed with a German Shepherd, they look like a German Shepherd. If they're crossed with a Pit Bull, they look like a Pit Bull. If they're crossed with a Pekingese, they've got a punched-in face. It just depends. And cat people, I think, are going to be the same way. I've got a mule that's across the street, and she looks like a hairless cat. And yet I've got people in Michigan that have them around their place, and they look like a cougar. So it just depends on what they are crossed with as far as what they look like. But as far as, their role, they're guardians. They've always stayed out, back in the forests and everything, and they do their role quite well, and they do it silently. But they are there. They watch, and they're supposed to help guard and help put energy and frequency into the planet.
Let's go to another one as we have 5 minutes left, Robin.
Okay.
Marv is asking, in August, we had 2 different eclipses. Did Bigfoot relate to any significance of these to you?
They get kind of excited on some of the eclipses. Some eclipses are stronger than other. And, some of them, it's like with the moon, you can get good energy from a moon and you can also get bad energy. And I would expect, I don't have anything scientific to prove it, but I would expect it would be the same way with the eclipses. I do know that mine get excited during eclipse time. They will pull energy from anything. And they are very active during the eclipses. They're kind of cautious because they're not under the cover of darkness, but in certain areas, they get really torqued up. They get very vocal. But I think it's because the frequency during those eclipses raise. And as the frequency goes up, the more it goes up, the more excited they get.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
they
interesting.
do. And I think they base their
let me add
world
to that
on.
for a second, though. Let me add
Well,
to that for a second, though.
Okay.
What about full moons?
Well, I think full moons are the same way, but they've always told me, like, I pull energy from the earth, I can pull it from the atmosphere, from the multiverse, whatever. And, I said something to them about the moon, and they said, don't always pull it from the moon. Check the energy first, if it's a good energy or bad energy, because sometimes there's good energy and sometimes it's bad. So before you pull it from the moon, you have to check it. So I don't know what would create it to be bad. I mean, I know there's been a couple times that I've actually physically seen the double moon, which was really creepy. My daughter and I were driving, and there was like 2 moons. One was red and one was more the whitish blue color. It was really creepy. So, yeah, I mean, you can pull it from it. You just have to make sure that you're pulling positive energy and not negative.
All right, let's continue on here. Jules wants to know, do any of your Sasquatch or Dogman acquaintances tell you about their history?
I mean, how far back? I mean, a little bit. I mean, they will. They talk about, ancient times and how, things were then. They haven't gone in a lot of detail. Like, I can ask them questions and they answer it. They always laugh because you'll get people that'll come on and say, well, they were here before we were. And the Sasquatch just laugh hysterically. They're part human. They couldn't have been here before us. So their DNA is part human. They had to be here before that. They talk about it was simpler times. They'll talk to me about when it was more Native American based than how it is right now, and that most of them got along better with the Native Americans than they do with the white people. They said there were still some areas that they fought with the Native Americans, but for the most part, they got along with them much better than white people. They don't have as much respect for white people as they do Native American. The Native Americans were much kinder. Like I said, there are places in the world that the Native Americans there they fought very, very much with. But I would say probably 75% got along very well with them, and they were treated better by them than they were by us.
One more question. Robin, did the Sasquatch pick up on the vibes that you and Bigfoot Michigan Rob were sending out?
I would imagine we were laughing really hard. Yeah, they were fine. And when to begin with, I wasn't going to do podcasts and shows. I did because they told me to. Because personally, I don't care if anybody knows my name. If I'm helping people, I'm happy. But they wanted information that they were giving me to be put out. And so before I do any show, I ask them, is this a place you want your information out? If they don't want me to do the show, I flat out don't do them. And trust me, I turn them down. So they were very much aware I was going to do Rob's show. They were very comfortable with it. The vibrations I felt were high. The people seemed extremely kind, and I was getting Sasquatch talking in my head through the whole thing, and none of it was negative. So I think they were okay with it. It's like they know I come on here every week, and they are very encouraging about that. And it's like when I get on here, Dave's group is talking in my head all the time. Some of the other ones will pipe in too. So yeah, I don't go anywhere that I get pre-approved, I guess is the best way to put it.
You're like a mortgage. You get pre-approved.
To have pre-approval before I'm allowed to go anywhere. Well, I can tell my experiences, but the rest of it is all stuff that they've told me or they've taught me. So it's their information. I'm just a messenger. That's all I am, and all I can do is put out my experiences and the information that they want shared. And there's a lot of stuff they tell me they don't want shared, and I don't share it.
Robin, give your website.
You can reach me at www.paranormal-empowerment.com, or if you want services, or you can also get hold of me for services or just ask a question. I'm on Facebook under Robin Haynes, Haynes, no middle initial.
Thank you, Robin. We will talk to you next week. As we
Bye,
say,
guys.
Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Robin left. All right. Close that off. Open this up. 1 second, guys. All right. Tomorrow night on the show, Bill Konkoleski is going to be here. Oh, UFO Encounters. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we will make that happen. Going to make that happen. Be good. Be good. And then we'll go from there. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Thank you tonight to T-Bone for the amazing super chat and the gifting of membership. JSCO, Von Patrick with an amazing super chat, and Josh Rutledge for the gifting of memberships as well. I have to prepare for Mr. Sterling, Mr. Walter M. Sterling on radio in New York. That'll be fun. Are you going to come join us on WABC? I do know that our good friend Meld or Paramarv has put the link up there. Thank you, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Have fun. And talk some UFOs tomorrow. Later.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.